Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Monday, and thank you for joining this session today, which is all centered around your well-being and the building blocks of good well-being. Let me start with a question. What does it mean to be truly well? We often think of well-being as feeling good, but it goes much, much deeper than that. True well-being is built, not stumbled upon. It's a structure made up of key elements to support our physical, mental, and social health. Today, we're going to explore those building blocks, from the power of connection and purpose to the impact of sleep, movement, and mindset. These foundations aren't just nice to have, they're essential. My name's Andrew, and I'm the supervisor for Caring, Wellbeing and Health Services here at your charity. My main focus is on supporting civil servants, current and former, with a range of challenges related to wellbeing, mental health, and caring responsibilities. Today, I'm here to talk to you about a topic that we often take for granted, our wellbeing. Before we get stuck into all things wellbeing, here is just a brief bit of background information about your charity. We started nearly 140 years ago, back in 1886. In fact, next year will be 140 years, believe it or not. And we were previously known as a Civil Service Benevolent Fund. And we were set up by civil servants to help other civil servants who were going through a tough time. And that's an ethos that very much remains true today, and is our purpose, supporting each other. Today, we're known as a Charity for Civil Servants, an independent charity whose mission is to support civil servants, past and present, when times are tough, listening without judgment and offering practical, financial and emotional support. The range of support on offer through the charity is so varied that it's often hard to keep up with a lot of the time. At the end of this session, I will let you know how you can keep up to date with everything that is going on at your charity. Life is not straightforward, and neither is our offer of help. We're all unique, so are our circumstances. So we look at everyone on an individual basis and try our very best to tailor our support accordingly. We're here to help you and anyone who's dependent upon you financially or dependent upon you for their care. And that is for the rest of your life. So even if you leave the civil service, you're always part of our community. It could be 20 years later, you can still come back to your charity for help. So quite a unique position to be in. Secondly, we're not a membership organisation, so there's no sign up involved. Simply by you being or having been a civil servant, you are part of our lifelong community. Although the charity is largely funded by donations from civil servants, you do not need to have donated in the past to apply for help. That's what we're here for. Although, of course, it's fantastic if you can. Before we talk about how to build well-being, let me ask you, why does it even matter? Why does well-being matter? Feel free to share any thoughts in the Q&A. Well-being isn't just about self-care or avoiding the other extreme and burnout. It's the foundation of how we think, feel, connect, and perform. And when our well-being suffers, it doesn't just impact us, it affects our relationships. Everyone around us notices, affects our decisions and our ability to show up fully in life and in work. Chronic stress, poor sleep, and neglecting our mental health are all linked to physical illnesses, reduced productivity, and emotional exhaustion. But that's the bad news. The good news is that small, intentional changes to how we live, move, rest, and relate can make a huge, huge difference. Well-being can mean different things for different people. For some, it's about having the energy to enjoy time with family, run around with kids. For others, it's about staying calm under pressure, being able to deal with difficult challenges, or feeling a sense of purpose, having a why. There's no single definition that fits everyone, but most of us know when it's missing. Before we move on, I'd like you to take 20, 30 seconds. And if someone asked you today what good well-being feels like, what would you say? Feel free to share that in the Q&A or Keep it for yourself. It could be one word, one sentence, or even a feeling. If someone asks you what good well-being feels like, what would you say? When you look at the building blocks of well-being, connection is essential. It is one of the strongest predictors of happiness and well-being. Strong relationships reduce the risk of anxiety and depression. Connected people have stronger immune systems and lower blood pressure. They're more resilient. Feeling seen, heard, and valued not only supports our resilience, but how we feel in our self-esteem. A connection comes in many forms: friends, family, colleagues, community, and even our pets. When it comes to looking after our mental and our physical health, movement is so powerful. Many GPs say that if they could create one pill, it would be physical activity. In addition to the examples that you can see on this slide, have a think about the kinds of physical activity that you enjoy, or you at least tolerate, and feel free to share them. But are you currently prioritizing your own well-being by scheduling in some time to do them? So we know that physical activity is good for us, but what makes movement so powerful for looking after our well-being? Well, not only does physical activity lead to improvements in our physical health, it can also increase our self-esteem, making us feel better about ourselves. Being active improves sleep, memory, cognition. It makes us calmer, increases our energy levels, makes us more confident, and it helps us connect with others too. We've just seen how powerful that is. So win, win, win. You'll have heard that being active increases dopamine within our brains, and dopamine is known as a reward hormone. How many times have you not felt like going for that walk, for example? But when you do, you almost always feel better afterwards, and particularly at this time of year, going for a walk in the dark nights. And you get that your brain recognizes a sense of achievement in what you've done, and you get that dopamine release. Now, it's important to note that there is a lot of evidence that if you do something unexpected or surprising, then you get a greater dopamine release. You get a greater reward response. So trying something new or out with your comfort zone can make you feel better for longer and give you a greater sense of achievement. Speaking of trying something new, I've recently started playing paddle. If anyone knows what paddle is, let me know. But it's like a cross between tennis and squash. You're in like a glass court, and it's very social. So it's like doubles, very challenging, but quite friendly to play at the same time. So let me know if you've heard of paddle. Getting outdoors and being in nature is a really effective way for looking after our well-being. Outdoor adventures have been proven to restore mental fatigue and provide us with an overall mood boost. Simply going for a walk in a local green space or perhaps at a frozen lake at this time of year can provide a real dose of natural medicine. It's being active in this way encourages the production of another chemical, serotonin. Serotonin is a feel-good hormone, and it's got a diverse range of roles from enabling sleep, controlling digestion, and regulating our mood. It's no coincidence that most of the frequently prescribed antidepressants contain serotonin. Having an outdoor hobby can also help us be more productive at work. Evidence shows that those who take part in creative hobbies, such as cooking, painting, gardening, are more inventive in the workplace. And lastly, for those of you that have pets, having a pet is a great excuse to get us outdoors in all weathers, even when we don't want to. Although I'm currently looking after a Frenchie who will not go out with the slightest bit of wind, slightest bit of rain. So if anyone has a Frenchie and has any tips how you can get them to go for walks when the weather's not great, which it seems to never be, then please share. However, the relationships we have with our four-legged friends or two-legged friends offer various other benefits in looking after our well-being. We've just seen the power of connection, and that is the exact same with our dogs or cats or any other pets you may have, making us happier in the longer term. And that is due to the release of oxytocin, or better known as the cuddle hormone. The existence of oxytocin is essential for us to experience love, trust, and friendship, all of which make us happier. So if you can take one thing away from this session, then it's give someone a hug today. That can be your homework, and that includes if you have pets as well. Give some and get some oxytocin. We can't talk about well-being without talking about sleep. We know that sleep is very, very powerful. It's so important. It's essential for both physical and mental recovery. Sleep supports learning and problem solving. It affects how we function at work. We know when we've had a bad sleep. Sleep reduces the chance of illness. It gives us stronger immune systems. Lack of sleep increases stress, anxiety, emotional reactivity. We tend to act more on our emotions rather than our logical brain. And although there's lots of recommendations about quantity, quality is just as important. Here is a sleep hygiene checklist, which will likely be familiar to you, but sometimes a wee reminder can be helpful, and even if you can take one thing from it. So, first of all, try and go to bed and wake up at the same time each day. Of course, that's not always possible. We've got lives, got social lives, events, so that's completely fine. But for the most part, consistency is key, and your brain gets to recognize if you're going to bed at a similar time, then it will naturally start to wind down. Regarding your environment, dim lights, read, stretch, meditate, listen to soothing music. There's so many great apps out there now to assist with that. Avoid scrolling, looking at your phone, or watching Netflix at least an hour before sleep. Personally, I'm really bad at that. I'll often be looking at or watching something a few minutes before I go to bed, which is not great. And it's the artificial light, that blue light we get from our devices, which will inhibit melatonin production, melatonin being your sleep hormone. So ideally, you're not exposed to that artificial light before you go to bed. When it comes to caffeine, we've all got variations in tolerance levels. I love coffee, and sometimes I'll have one quite late in the afternoon. But for many people, that might impact your sleep many hours later. And the effects of caffeine typically last somewhere between 2 to 12 hours. So it is a big window, and you get to learn where you sit on that scale. For your bedroom, keep it as cool, dark, and quiet as possible. What's within your control. And perhaps that might be easier over the autumn and winter months. Now, this next one I think is arguably the most challenging at this time of year. Getting sunlight, getting natural daylight is so, so important for supporting your natural body clock and your rhythms. Getting daylight during the day. And during this time of year where it's dark in the morning, it feels like it's dark at mid-afternoon, so we're not being exposed to natural light. And now we've just seen the importance of serotonin, that feel-good hormone. Our body needs daylight to help produce that within the brain, really important. That's why there's also quite a strong argument to supplement with vitamin D at this time of year, because vitamin D assists with the production of serotonin. Then you've got, because it is so dark, you might actually get an overproduction of melatonin. So melatonin signals that it's time to go to bed. So it's very natural that at this time of year, you're feeling perhaps a little more fatigued or a lack of energy or drowsy during the day. Lower energy levels is quite normal because it is so dark. So daylight is really, really important. And lastly, alcohol. For those that like a social drink, everything within balance. And alcohol does impact sleep and recovery, particularly if you like to engage in sports or train in the gym and that sort of thing. Your body will metabolize alcohol before it breaks down fats, carbohydrates, or proteins. It has to take alcohol as a toxin and get rid of that first. So therefore impacts on your sleep. But like I said, everything within balance. Small changes are always the most significant. So, the powers of connection, movement, rest, sleep, they're essential building blocks of well-being. We know that. But tying these together is our mindset. Mindset is your beliefs about your abilities and potential. It shapes how you think, feel, and act, how you respond to challenges and setbacks. Typically, there are two types of mindset. A fixed mindset avoids challenges and believes that abilities are static. Not always the case, but it can be easier as we age to develop a more fixed mindset because we like things that we know, that we're familiar with, we like routine. Whereas a growth mindset believes that abilities can develop. They're not static. They embrace learning, they embrace challenges. So why does this matter? Well, mindset influences resilience, motivation, and your well-being. A growth mindset builds confidence, reduces stress. And when we spoke about movement, we identified the importance of doing things out with your comfort zone. It doesn't just have to be paddle. And how much that we gain from doing that. Here is a quick optional reflection opportunity for you. What's one area of your well-being where a growth mindset would help you feel more in control? Can you reframe a recent challenge that you've been going through as an opportunity to grow? It's an opportunity to grow. Remember, going through something difficult, something challenging, life always likes to throw challenges at us. When we come through the other end of that, there's always so much that we could take, learning what we've shown, the resilience that we've shown to get through a difficult period. One powerful way to nurture a growth mindset and boost your well-being is by training your brain to focus on the positives. And that's where the three good things practice comes in. Our brains are wired to focus on problems, on the negatives, and that's part of your survival instinct. That's completely fine. Really, really useful for us, but only in the right circumstances. This simple habit helps rewire our brains for gratitude, resilience, and optimism. It's been shown to boost mood, sleep, reduce burnout. If you did this activity every evening for 7 days, you would have 21 good things to reflect on. And it's the small things that matter. It could be that you slept well, that you had a nice coffee, a meaningful conversation with a friend or a colleague, the weather was nice, small things that matter. And when you look back at that at the end of the week, if you've done it for 5 nights and you've got 15 things, then it can be really rewarding to see the small things that have happened throughout your week that make the difference and help you practice that bit of gratitude. So, being Monday, start of the week, what's one good thing that has happened to you so far today, however small? And while you're thinking about one good thing that has happened to you so far today, I'm now going to talk to you about the services and support that are available for you to access through your charity. They might be useful for you now or in the future, or for sharing with friends and colleagues. It's really important for me to highlight that practical tips, tools, advice, self-help, and things that I've spoken to you so far today is really, really helpful for enabling us to take control of our well-being. However, there are times when we all need some help and support. So it's important to ask for it if when that time comes. And admitting that we need some help is often the hardest step to take. It takes bravery, it takes courage, but reaching out can open up so many doors and is often the most helpful step to take. Here at your charity, there is a range of wellbeing support that you can access. For example, we've got a wellbeing team who can spend some time talking to you about your mental health, where you're at, what's impacting on you, and help you explore options going forwards. And that's one part of my role. So if you were particularly unlucky, then you'd be speaking to me over the phone or via Teams. If you don't want to speak to someone, we've got our online wellbeing hub, whereby you can go on and just self-select a range of resources that you might be interested in or in topics like stress, anxiety, sleep, resilience, and we'll send them to your inbox and you can explore them in your own time. You can access introductions to mindfulness through Breathworks. You can access the GriefWorks mobile app, which is fantastic for supporting anyone that's going through loss, bereavement, and you can text one-to-one chat with a counsellor through the app. And you'll find many, many good webinars on our website on just about any topic you can think of, ranging from nutrition to neurodiversity. And we've just had the Mental Health and Wellbeing Conference as well last month. You can go on our website and watch many fantastic sessions, which I think is so, so important for learning. We've spoke about learning today and how that impacts on your well-being, and then you taking control and looking after your well-being. And one of the most popular services through the charity is Thrive. We teamed up with Thrive to give you access to 24/7 mental health support. And if you've got your phone handy, open up the camera, scan the QR code, and that will take you to how you can get access to 1 year's complimentary access through your charity. Thrive's a great app, and it's got just about anything you can think of mental health related on there. Hundreds of hours of contents, tools, resources, including cognitive behavioral therapy, guided relaxation, progress tracking. But one of the biggest attractions of the app is the ability for you to reach out to therapists via the touch of a button. And after an initial triage process, that may lead to talking therapy. And that can take place over the phone or digitally through Teams, for example. Thrive generally review after 8 sessions. We give you access to that for a year. And Thrive's main mission is to reduce the barriers to accessing mental health support. In addition to our wellbeing services, we can sometimes help with a range of other things. For example, if you're in financial difficulty, if your circumstances change unexpectedly, if you're caring for a loved one, relative or neighbour who couldn't manage without your support. And when you become a carer, it impacts on every area of your life, your well-being, inside and outside of work. And you can get one-to-one advice. We've also got a team of money advisors, not as good as a wellbeing team, but fantastic, and they can advise you on all things money and debt related. I said at the start that I'd let you know how you can keep up to date with everything that's going on in your charity. And this QR code, you still got your camera handy, will take you to how you can complete a very short keep in touch form. And that just enables you to hear about all the things that are going on in your charity. You get a monthly newsletter. You're not like signing your life away or something, committing to anything. Just lets you know everything that is happening within your charity. Alternatively, you can follow us on the socials as you see them here. But importantly, the more noise that you make about the charity, the more colleagues that you speak to, the more people that then we're able to reach out and support. And a lot of people don't know that they have a charity. As we wrap up, remember that well-being isn't a destination, it's something that we build every day. And like any strong structure, it starts with small, solid foundations. Connection, movement, rest, and mindset. And the good news, you don't have to do everything at once. Even one small shift, reaching out to someone, moving your body, taking a mindful breath. So ask yourself, what's one building block that you can focus on for this week? Thank you very much for listening to this session. And please do reach out to us if there's anything that we can help with. There is some time this afternoon, so I'm going to look at the Q&A. If you have any thoughts, comments, or questions, please add them in there. Elaine, thank you for your question. So you mentioned that you work in an office and that you leave for work in the dark and come home when it's dark. What would you suggest? So that's really, really challenging because it's still getting darker and darker each day, isn't it? So when you go to work, I can't remember off the top of my head when the sunrise and sunset is, but it feels like it's getting dark at before 4. So if you're in an office, then I think it's really important to have that conversation with your manager around your well-being and make sure that you get time during the day, whether it's over lunch or within your control to schedule in time to get out with the office. And we know that short periods of daylight make all the difference. It doesn't need to be a lot of sunlight, a lot of daylight. So even if you can schedule in 20 minutes as part of your lunch, that would be fantastic and make all the difference. This person asks, are there any suggestions for people who experience seasonal affective disorder? And I think that's a really, really important thing to highlight because we talked about the lack of serotonin and the overproduction of melatonin at this time of year. So SAD is really, really prevalent. So vitamin D supplementation is one thing which may help, but it depends on the severity. So being physically active can make a huge, huge difference. But if it's something that you've been dealing with for a period of time, then I would definitely recommend, if you haven't done already, speaking to your GP and getting some more advice there. But daylight and physical activity and vitamin D can make a difference. There's a couple of questions about sharing slides, and I'm happy to share them afterwards. Absolutely. Um, I can see that Lisa's put my email address in the chat. So if anyone would like a PDF copy of the slides, please email me at the email address that my colleague Lisa's very kindly put into the Q&A section, and I will send you the slides afterwards. This person says, I'm going to try to keep a gratitude journal and hopefully that will go well. That's fantastic, especially if you're going to take one thing going forwards. Monday, it feels like it's always the toughest day, or in some ways the best day to look at what's one thing you can do. I think there's so much evidence around practicing gratitude, and it doesn't need to be onerous, just a little small thing here and there, whether it's similar to the 3 good things practice or whether it's just writing in something that you're grateful for each day, I think can make a huge difference to how your brain thinks and that shift from more negative thoughts to positive. Fantastic. Okay, everyone. As there's no more questions, I'm going to end the event there and thank you all very much for joining. And if there is anything that the charity can help with, please do reach out and get in touch. And I hope you have a fantastic week going forwards. Thank you.